Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I am joined by my brother, the Gritty Broman. How are you, Brent?
I'm well, thank you.
That's great. Today's podcast is with our friend Fred Bohm. He was here yesterday. We recorded the show. He is an avid outdoors person. How's that for PC?
I was say it doesn't get more PC than that.
He's got a broad background in fitness. I've followed him for a number of years. He's, out of the Denver area, has a background in climbing, rock climbing, and kind of just mountain biking, adventure kind of stuff, outdoor activity, very physically fit and active dude, and a killer with the bow. He has a background in upland hunting that he did a lot as a youth. He's from like the Jersey area, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere back out east.
Out east, you can hear it in the accent.
Mm-hmm. And he talks so fast.
Yeah, I love Fred. I've always enjoyed his articles that he writes. You can find more about him by following his Instagram. You can check out his webpage. We talk about that in the podcast. You'll see it in the description on this particular episode, in the description in the YouTube video. So if you go to briancall.com and you go to the podcast screen, you'll see all the YouTube videos, and go to the description of that video and you'll get links, pertinent links. Frustratingly, the audio file for the podcast was corrupted. For some reason, we just didn't get the beautiful sound that I usually try to get. And so we are relying on the backup mic that we have running on the camera. So the audio is not as clean as I'd like it to be, and as kind of the standard we try to run here. But it's very easy to understand and easy to follow, and it's definitely worth listening to. We tried to clean it up best we could, and so it is what it is. It's kind of frustrating because we had a great conversation, but it'll work. You'll like it. Tune in, listen, and forgive us for the audio quality. Also, he has his own business. He's very entrepreneurial. Well, he's got a brand called Sage and Breaker, which is named after some upland dogs of his. It's very cool looking. We tease him a little bit about it being like, it's like 19...
It looks like something from the 50s.
Yeah.
Like it's like something you would have got from your grandpa in the 50s.
Right. Or maybe even earlier. 20s even.
It's all leather and canvas. It's a gun cleaning kit.
Yep. It's very cool. It's also a shooting mat. You can roll out on the ground, shoot, and it's something that you can give to your children and your children's children and children. It's that kind of quality that you pass on for generations, and it kind of goes along with Fred's personality and his style. He's got style.
He does. If you go to his Instagram, you can quickly see he has a particular style.
Right. Very good with photography. He has a great photography portfolio. You can
Maybe
check that
we should
out.
list the things that he's bad at, because I feel like that might be a shorter list.
For real. He's very fit. He did Fit for the Hunt with me a few times when I was in Colorado. We got together, and he's a great archer, great bow hunter. Great, just all around dude. So you'll enjoy that podcast. We have hats and shirts, folks.
They're here.
They're here.
We have them. They're real. We weren't kidding.
They are on the website, so please support the brand. Go out and get yourself a gritty hat, gritty shirt. We only have 4 SKUs, or 3, 5.
5. We have
hats.
Yes,
3 hats and 2 shirts. So we talked about that being available back in February. So I mean, per my usual, I'm a great salesman. Is what I am.
All you gotta do, go to briancall.com, look at the top, there's a button that says shop.
Yeah. So anyway, very much appreciated. Come in and support the brand and support what we do. They're just branded logo kind of shirts and hats. And
they're our first run. We will be doing more.
Yeah.
But we haven't done shirts.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. We got some cool
stuff. Hey,
stuff.
folks, we got the website up and a shopping option and a fulfillment process. So we're growing. Woo!
That was the hard part.
Yeah. On July 11th, Thursday, July 11th, July 12th, and July 13th and 14th. That's basically next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, is the Total Archery Challenge. Yeah, not this week, but the following week. A week from Thursday, we have the Mountain Festival, fueled by Mountain Ops, the RMEF Mountain Festival. So the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation has put on a mountain festival in Utah at the Park City location where the Total Archery Challenge is occurring simultaneously. It's the same spot. It's in Canyons Village. It's free, open to the public. The mountain festival vendors and interactive displays will be spread from the Cabriolet parking lot to the Canyons Village Square. Anyway, there'll be tons of hunting gear, outdoor gear, elk calling contests. Corey Jacobson's going to be there doing contests. Randy Newberg is going to be there. They're going to do live podcasts. Traeger's going to be there. So is John Dudley. He's going to do some live podcasting. I'm going to do some live podcasting there. Come and check it out if you're in the area, or if you if you were not able to get tickets to the Total Archery Challenge. Dude, this is your event. Everyone who's going to be at TAC is going to be swinging through the Mountain Festival. It's going to all overlap and
there's no tickets for the Mountain Festival. It's just show up and have fun. Yeah, there's no tickets.
And bring your bow, because you can still, whether you have a lift ticket or not to do the courses, you can still bring your bow and shoot on all the practice ranges and practice courses down at the bottom of the TAC. And still mingle and hang out and get your reps in with your bow. So you don't have to have a lift ticket. You don't have to have been signed up for the TAC in order to go. So, we really wanted to, Mountain Ops and TAC and RMEF wanted to create an event that really gets people out there and invited and together. And even though, because the TAC sells out so fast, even though not everyone can get there. So, if you're kind of disappointed about it, come join us there. It's going to be cool. I'm going to do a live podcast with Shane Mahoney.
I'm excited for that.
On Saturday. And that is going to be at 12 noon on Saturday. On Sunday, I've got a podcast. Well, on Friday, I got one with Ryan Mickler from the Order of Man. Excited to have him. He's moved recently all the way to Maine.
Yeah, man, that's nuts.
Has been through a lot of changes. It was super cool to see him grow. But we're going to get together since he's not down here too often, and we're gonna talk. That should be a good show. I got Ryan Lampers coming on board to do a live podcast. We're going to talk New Zealand. We're going to talk bear hunting. We never did recap our bear hunt. And there is one more bear film that I'm working on to end that series. It'll be a 4-part series. And I mentioned how I was going to have tar videos out this week, and we're not going to do that. We're going to do it next week.
Hopefully.
So they're coming along. I think I've got 2 out of, I think it's a 5-part series done. Working on the bear one at the same time. Anyway, it just takes a little time to get it how I want it, and I don't want to release it early. I got a little ahead of myself there. So look for the video footage next week. And then with the TAC, it might be the week after. No promises.
We're grinding, folks. It's just the 2 of us, and it's coming.
Yeah, and when we drop it, though, you're going to love it. That last video of the bear hunt it's cool, man. And the tar stuff, I'm really trying to make sure that it's educational and that it really does more than just entertain, that you walk away with maybe knowledge about how to do that hunt yourself. It was all about DIY,
New Zealand,
all public land. Yeah, and costs. I watch a show and I see, he flew. Well, how much did that cost him? And then they rented a car. What was that? What was the cost of that?
What was your plane ticket?
And then you had a hotel stay. What was that? Like, what does it really cost? So we're gonna go ahead and share a lot of that with the public, so you can just do the math, on your own and go, okay, this is. Wow.
I could do without that.
Yeah.
And figure it out your own thing.
And I decided, moving forward, as we produce videos like this, we're going to go ahead and kind of include more of that kind of cost figures, because I think people have a mistaken idea about how achievable these things are, how doable they are.
I think that goes with all forms of travel. People don't realize how doable it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not just overseas. That's right here from Utah to Idaho, or from Utah to Arizona for late season.
People don't know what your options are next door.
Yeah. So understanding those costs, I think, will be useful, and you can consume it in the video format as you're watching a cool hunt, So there's the Total Archery Challenge in Bozeman. That's the following weekend, right after the one here in Park City in Utah. So again, that's another situation where if you didn't get tickets to the TAC Total Archery Challenge, you can still hang out down low. You can still do all the practice shots, and there's tons of targets down there, long range ones. You can still do the novelty shoots, things like that, where you can win a truck or whatever is going on. So that's it for announcements. Enjoy today's podcast. It's a good one. Fred's a cool dude. Give him a follow. Check out Sage and Breaker, and get a hat, shirt, sign up for our newsletter. And as always, stay gritty, friends. Welcome, folks, to the Gritty Podcast. I'm here with my friend, Fred Bohm. Fred, tell us a little bit about yourself. Because you and I met you probably, I started to pick up your blog content, your written content, your photography on Instagram 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
That sounds about right, when you were back in Colorado, for sure. Yeah.
And then we met and hung out a bit in Colorado. And it was about, I would say, a few months back, I got a call from my buddy Kendall Card.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kendall owns Black Ovis and Camel Fire and Crispy US distribution, Crispy Boots. He calls me up and he goes, dude, do you know who Fred Bohm is? And I'm like, yeah, I know Fred. We've hung out, we've shot bows, we've hiked mountains. And he's like, did you read his latest article?
No.
And I said, no, do people still read?
I'm in a dying art. That's I'll agree with that one. But go ahead.
And I said, so I was like, no. He said, oh, you got to read it. Man, it touched me. It was. I totally. You got to get that guy on your podcast. Get him on your podcast. I was like, well, Kendall, it's interesting. I've always planned on it at some point. It just never kind of came to fruition. And then you're cruising through town today, and here we are. So tell folks a little bit about Fred.
Well, hey, I want to know, what story was that he said?
I don't remember.
Okay, all right, so we both don't know.
It was an article you wrote. I think it was something about, like...
Oh, you know what? He got a hold of me about, I think, We Are Killers. Was it that one?
I think so.
Yeah, that one I've gotten a lot of questions over, good and bad.
Let's talk about it after we do a little introduction here.
A little intro. Well, I don't know. There's not much to say. I'm the same as everybody else. I'm a hunter, photographer, and a guy that just loves to get out in the woods. So I spend as much time out there as I possibly can. Colorado based, so that's how I met you. I think it was Sue Schneider, actually. We were out doing hikes, whatnot. So kind of same running crew. And I mean, just I kind of got into the whole writing thing with it. Like maybe that's, I don't know, I'm not known, but like if that's somebody knows my name, it's probably through the writing of photography. And I just kind of go out there, hunt, and then I write about it, and in my own words, and really just don't hold back on it, and kind of give my thoughts, because we're in a complex thing that we do, right? It's not like mountain biking. You go out there and you ride a trail. You go out rock climbing, you're climbing, right?
Right.
We're killing things out there. We understand this, right? Like, we're harvesting. Whatever you want to say, whatever you want to do to soften it, that's fine. But we're killing things out there. So I kind of started this blog, like, I don't know, I was just starting to have kids, and my father was an awesome man, but I didn't know much about what he did. He passed away a bunch of years back, but I didn't know, he was a crazy outdoorsman, all that type of thing. I didn't know much about what he did when he was younger. I'm like, well, this would be kind of cool. Like, start writing about it, doing photography. As I get older, my kids can kind of look back and be like, oh, this is pretty cool what Dad did. So that's what started it. And then I don't know, it was therapeutic after a bit, just to write about it and kind of capture the whole thing.
And your content's awesome. Your photos
thanks.
Are incredible.
Okay.
And the written content. I do read still. I made a joke. I made a joke with Jordan the other day. We were talking, and I made some comment about an article I read recently, and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Read or listened on that
and I said,
audio work.
Jordan, people older than you actually read. Like,
Sure.
there's a whole generation of people that grew up reading and still read.
Few of us left.
Yeah, but there's certain written content is incredibly powerful, I think, because of you can say it exactly the way you want to say it,
and you got time to think it over. Okay, so sitting here right now, you're asking me questions, we're talking, we're conversing back and forth, nothing's pre-planned, right?
Yep.
But when I'm sitting there writing, and I'm like, nah, that's not really. Did you just say that because you're BSing yourself and you don't really feel that way? Go back over it, and you can kind of rework it, and you could work your words. And maybe it's just I don't have the patience for video. That's a lot of work. I see what you guys do. It's a ton of work. This is just going back afterwards, or when I'm out there, I'm taking notes and kind of like saying how I feel, because when you get back, like humans got a very short memory when it comes to pain. And, you get back from a hunt, you're like, oh, that was awesome. No, it wasn't. Like, think about it. When you were in there and you were swearing up a storm and you were cursing everybody you ever met and every animal you've ever seen,
right.
and this stupid tent, I hate the sleeping, you're yelling at everything at that point. Well, that's what I kind of wanted to capture. I want to write about that because we could all, make it, candy coat it afterwards and see how great it is.
But yet we go back. Like, there's a craving for it. Like, I went to Cancun with my wife a few years back.
Okay.
And the beaches are gorgeous.
Sure.
And we dove in the ocean, and we went to these freshwater pools and scuba dived and all this kind of stuff. And it was the cenotes, and it was gorgeous.
Sure.
And I was bored out of my mind.
Horrible vacation.
And I was like, it took me a good 3 or 4 or 5 days. Just about the time we were coming home, I was actually starting to kind of like, I like this.
Yeah.
Because for me, there was no challenge to overcome. There was no struggle to conquer.
Yeah.
And so the vacation was I felt just bored, trapped. And it was fun just to relax, but at the same time, it didn't have it didn't fulfill me the way an incredibly difficult hunt does.
Well, I think it's type 2 fun is what we always called it. Like in the mountaineering type of thing is when you're actually out there, or the climbing world, but when you're doing it, it can be miserable. Mm-hmm. But then it's afterwards, you look back and the challenge, and I think that's part of us being humans, going through those challenges, overcoming them, or not, or just learning something about yourself. Whereas laying on the beach, and I have the same argument, we go back, my wife she was from the Philippines. I mean, she's, here now, citizen, all that good stuff. Yeah. But she grew up there, so we go back there here and there. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? She's like, let's go back for a month. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna last a day. So I'm out there. We're there for 3 weeks, and I'm I'm supposed to be spearfishing. I'm just out there doing anything I could do to entertain myself. I'm running up and down roads. This is the first time anybody's seen a white person there. We're in the middle of nowhere, Philippines, way out there, and I'm like, she's talking about going back for a month. I'm like, I'm gonna shoot myself. So you got to find things, so we do like Hawaii, where they could go to the beach, do that thing. I go hunt all morning, come back, hang out with the family, that type of deal. But
right.
I don't know. Are we just wired different? Now that we've experienced something as cool as what the backcountry is, and beating ourselves up and enjoying it, is it an age thing? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Definitely, there are people who have no interest in it whatsoever. So like the idea of it, just looking at the photos I've shared, they're like, they almost have absolute disdain for me. What I'm doing.
Yep.
Like they cannot relate at all. No. Their idea of a good time is a golf course, a massage, and sipping drinks at the beach.
So have we just not lost that part of us? Is that what it is? I mean,
I think.
Or have they not experienced something as cool as we have?
I don't know. Like since birth, I've always been drawn toward the physical hardships that are presented from hunting.
Yeah.
Like it's like the difference. Like I'd rather mountain bike than motocross.
Yeah.
Because there's that physical component of me pumping the crank and climbing the hills.
You're earning it.
Where motocross looks fun and it's cool, but it's different.
Yeah.
I guess. And for me, there's so much that's tied to that physical challenge of it. I don't know.
And I don't know if it's an age thing, because I thought about that too in the beginning. When I started out, like my first big sport, I would say, was rock climbing. You couldn't get me 50 yards. I'm like, if it wasn't 50 yards from the truck, I'm like, I'm not hiking that. I'm not doing it. So all I wanted to do is get on that rock and climb, which is, okay, that's hard, but it's not the cardio-based type of thing that we do these days. And as I grew older, maybe your body can't handle that type of thing, like that power, that movement type of deal. Then I got into mountain biking. I'm like, okay, well, that's pure cardio. And now this is all hunting is anymore. Well, I mean, it's
If you
cardio
wanna
and
get-
patience.
yeah.
Depending on how you do it, but yeah.
Oh, there's a clip in this footage I'm creating from this tar hunt I just got back on.
Yep.
You did New Zealand as well.
I did, yeah.
And I was showing you some of the pictures. That I'm up there in the ice, in the snow. We should have had crampons. We should have had axes, ice axes, and all that stuff, and we didn't. And I turned to Ryan Lampers and I turn to him and I go, people who climb mountains for fun, there's something wrong with them. They're messed up. Like, I'm doing it because I really want that monster tar.
You got a goal.
Like, I got a goal. But to climb it just to say you climbed it, you have to have a screw loose.
Yeah.
You have to be a little messed up.
Yeah.
Because there's death involved. It's not like you just
100%.
crash on a mountain bike. Like, I get struggle but I have never really been compelled to do anything that borders on the edge of, like, I could die.
Sure.
I just am like, no, there's a line. So I did a lot of rock climbing, but I was always roped in.
Sure.
I never was like, I know a lot of guys who free climbed and did other things, or who lead climbed on some sketchy spots. I'm like, that's just top rope.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
You just wanted the physical challenge. You didn't want the mental side of it so much.
You've got that background.
I do. That's kind of how
So the screws are loose.
The screws are loose. There's something wrong inside. And maybe I figured out after a while, then I'm like, you know what, dude, this isn't going to last forever. There's going to be a slip up. And you see some of these guys, like, the guys free soloing in Yosemite right now, just pushing these levels. Like, it's not a matter of if, it's definitely when. There's so many variables that are involved in rock climbing that are just out of your control. I mean, there's holds breaking, stung by a bee. I don't know. There's rock fall coming from above. There's been many times where I've been rock climbing and I've come off that rock and, was roped up. Lead climb, you're taking a big fall still. Mm-hmm. Still a little bit dangerous. I mean, yeah, it could be dangerous depending on your protection and whatnot. But the free solo, that's it, man. It could be the stupidest thing. It could be the easiest part of the climb. This is where a lot of these, these climbers, these old timers that are starting to go now, it's on the easy sections. They're not paying attention and, they're not. They're on cruise control at that point, and something happens, boom, slip up. There's no coming back from that. Dude, that's it, man.
Yeah, I know.
My hands are getting sweaty right now.
Mine too. But there's definitely I do like, that's why I'm on that tar hunt. I mean, I do like an element of danger.
Sure.
And overcoming and controlling my, one of the reasons I liked rock climbing was simply, I remember one of the first tough climbs I did, got to this ledge, and it was just a roof, like, and to get to reach the overhang, the only way I knew is you had to jump.
Yeah.
You had to commit.
Yep.
And you had to jump out and then grab the edge and then not have so much momentum that you just
and your feet cut loose. Yeah, it's called a dyno. Yeah, it's an insane part.
That is scary.
Yep.
I remember hitting that spot and going, and you're, the longer you're on the rock, the more you're shaking, and adrenaline kicked in.
Yep.
And I was so, like, burnt.
Yeah.
That I couldn't grab the ledge.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't even jump. I tried to jump for it, didn't have what I needed, and I fell.
Well, that's it. You get that adrenaline going, then you get the lactic acid in there, and I mean everything just seizes up. Your muscles are gone.
So the next day I went back. Now I was pissed at myself for the day before. Stayed calm, got to that point, and just went for it.
Yeah.
Grabbed that ledge, pulled myself up, and I was like, that was badass.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of rock climbing, right? Like, you could go there one day and you see how far you can make it. And then the next day you get a little bit further. So you could actually see progress.
But the adrenaline was the part that I had to manage.
Yes.
Overcoming the fear. Overcoming the word, like blocking that out. That was why I really enjoyed it, was because, and sometimes I was really discouraged because my adrenaline got the better of me and it just smoked me.
Yeah.
So learning to control that, I found it compelling. I found it fun. And even when we were up there with that tar, we got to this one section where, if you slipped and you slid 50 feet, you'd drop 500 feet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to control the adrenaline, think about things, be careful. And I got to a point where I recognized, like, the legs were jello. The body had
Elvis leg in it.
Yeah, so everything had gone wrong. Mm-hmm. So I sat down, ate some sugar, some shot blocks, relaxed for a while. I preempted, all of that.
Sure.
Got my legs back under me and then kept going.
Yeah, it's just a head game at that
But
point. 'Cause
it
it wasn't
was a
that
head game.
it wasn't that your legs weren't strong enough to do it. It wasn't anything physical. It's that little muscle up there telling the rest of the body to shut it down and but that's all you got to do. You park it for a little bit.
But that's like buck fever.
It's exactly like buck fever. It's adrenaline.
It's adrenaline.
Yeah.
And trying to manage that when the giant animal you've been chasing forever, or the buck of your dreams comes in front of you.
Sure.
Elk. Yeah.
How do you train for it? You know?
The thing is you could be ice in the veins on the rock,
Sure.
climbing rocks,
Mhm.
but and you would like yourself to be able to transfer that ability to manage adrenaline in that situation to the buck or the buck fever that comes.
Yeah.
And I think there is an element of crossover, but it's also surprising how much it doesn't cross over.
Well, it's because
Like
it's
you
a
still
moment, right? It's a moment. You got that animal coming out in front of you. And you're like, this is it. If I screw this up, I may never see that animal again. And I've been, getting on game cams, if you're a whitetail hunter type of thing, and just following it all. You fall, then finally I pick my window, and this is it. And the animal comes out, and it's in front of you. Mountain climbing, you can just, I don't like it, go back down. Then the next day you go up, exactly like you said with the rock climbing. You keep going back and trying that thing over and over. Us as hunters, we don't have that luxury. It's they're there. They could be gone, and that's it. You just screwed it up. And I've done that a ton.
Some of them are like a unicorn. Like you saw it. That's your chance, and
That's
you
it.
never see it again.
One shot. Yeah.
The weight of that is big.
Uh-huh.
So, let's talk a little bit about We Are Killers.
Yeah.
Why? What was it about that article that Kendall, was drawn to, that others have been drawn to? First, describe the article.
It was something I wrote. I had a buddy. I can't even remember what I shot, and he was like, "Oh, great harvest. It was harvest this, harvest that." It must come up like 15 times in the conversation. What are we saying here? And I'm like, "Dude, I killed it, man." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Yeah, but harvested it." He's like, "Yeah, killed it, same thing." And I don't know. It just kind of got in my brain, and it was afterwards. I'm like, I get it when it goes like to the external. Like if we're talking about people that maybe on the fence with hunting, maybe against hunting, that maybe we got to dumb down the words, make it not sound so harsh. But between us hunters, like, what are we doing? Let's admit what we're doing out here, that we're actually out there killing animals. And I don't know, that's part of the hunting, I think, that we all, maybe not all, but I know I do, I struggle with here and there. It's not that I'm not going to shoot an animal, but there's a little piece of me that goes every time I slide an arrow into something. And I just like to admit what I'm doing. I feel like as long as I'm being honest with myself and the people around me,
Yeah.
then what I'm doing is all right. Like, I know what I'm doing at that point. But I think if we start candy coating stuff, saying that it's not really killing, we're harvesting, we're managing, we're doing it this, we're out there sometimes for selfish reasons. We want that animal dead. We want to go out there. We want to challenge. There's a lot of noble reasons behind what we do.
Right.
Conservation most certainly is involved in it. But come on, let's be honest. We're out there to kill that animal, and that's for a personal reason. And I think if we admit that to ourselves, at least that, at least for me, it puts me in the right head.
I heard Ranella mention one time, he was like, he hunts for a lot of reasons.
Sure.
And what he said resonated with me, because he said, I hunt for a lot of reasons. There's the fun, because it is fun. And that's part of, I think, admitting to yourself that hunting is fun. Not necessarily the killing part, but there is an element of thrill that comes from that moment.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the meat and the harvesting, the eating of the game.
Yep.
Then there's the conservation aspect of it and these different things. And he was saying, for me, he's like, if it was only fun, I don't think I would hunt.
Yeah.
And if it was only the meat, I just buy it at the grocery store
Sure.
or the organic whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, I do it because they're together. I get the meat, and I get to eat it and source my. Plus, there's fun. But if it didn't have the fun part, he's like, I wouldn't hunt.
Yeah. Exactly.
Why would any of us hunt? And if it doesn't have the meat part, he's like, I couldn't enjoy the fun part of it. I couldn't justify, the activity.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. So when people talk about hunting, there's a conservation side of it too. Sometimes you're trying to maybe reduce, a mountain lion population to help a struggling mule deer population or something like that. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of reasons for why we go and do it. But at the heart of it, I think the one that's often the most ignored and the one that's most difficult to communicate is the fun part.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what happens with, I think that's where we get ourselves in the most trouble. That's where we get in trouble with the trophy shots. It's a tough thing. And I've heard other people talk about, maybe we shouldn't do that because it's going to have a negative impact on people watching us from the outside.
I did a podcast like that with Ben O'Brien.
That's the one I heard then. Yeah.
You'd have thought, he was,
completely
molesting little children, the way people responded.
Did they? They just got fired up.
Oh, yeah. I mean.
Well, yeah. But there's so many sides to it. But it's the other part of it is I like seeing my buddies being successful out there. Mm-hmm. And I like that they're proud of what they did. And maybe a lot of times we get caught up in our own bubble. Mm-hmm. Like I always feel like I'm just, the content that I put out there, that's just hunters looking at it. So, I don't think really twice. I mean, I don't get negative, like, holding the skull, like getting silly about it because I think that's, disrespectful. But maybe it is. Maybe there is a lot of outsiders looking in, but how much are we willing to change? Like, it still is an enjoyable thing, and it's still something I'm extremely proud of, and I want to see other people just as proud of that as I am. So it's a fine line we're walking. There's no doubt about it. And I'm not saying I have the answer by any means. I have no idea. I'm just one idiot running around doing my own thing.
Right.
That's it.
So I've had this discussion many times about whether you say, yeah, I killed this great buck or I harvested a great buck, mm-hmm. This conversation. And I used to be 100% all about just the word kill. Yeah. And anytime anyone said harvested, I would roll my eyes and be condescending. And
sure. You're like, oh, is that what you did? Yeah.
Really? Okay. Let's call it what it is. Let's not be in denial here.
Yeah.
And then over the years, I switched and started saying harvested. And I'm kind of way on that side now.
Okay.
And my reason for that really was because not to soften it in any way, but because I felt like the word actually reflected more what I was talking about.
Is that because that's now involving the procuring of the meat itself? Because a harvest definitely sounds like that. When you're going out and you're harvesting crops, those are going to provide something. I can see that.
When you read the definition, the old definition, it's harvesting is that of bringing in crops and vegetables and all that farming, that sort of thing. And so in a term maybe 10, 20 years ago, when you said harvest, it didn't really apply to meat,
right? Ranching,
harvesting meat, but nowadays, when you read the modern definition in modern dictionaries, included in that is the harvesting of an animal.
Right.
The going out and taking its hide, taking its horns, taking its meat, taking its body parts, and bringing it home. And it presents an image of, okay, I'm not just killing, because killing denotes I killed it and left it there, or I killed it and chopped its head off. I killed it and just didn't utilize it. Mm-hmm. Where the word harvest says I killed it for a purpose and I utilized it.
But that's an external thing, right? That's somebody else looking in at what you're doing. When you go kill something, you're killing it and you're taking everything out with you. So for me, that's more like a personal thing. I want to make sure I know what I'm doing when I'm out there.
And I agree 100% with that. Let's not kid ourselves.
Sure.
When people start talking about, I hunt, coyotes for conservation.
Yeah.
It's like
you're doing it for fun.
There's a fun part there.
Sure.
A big part.
And that's all right too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. And so I don't like when hunters do hide behind conservation or harvesting. I feel like you're right. There's a dishonesty with oneself about what you're doing.
Yeah.
At the same time, I like the word harvest because anyone from the outside looking in, and even myself, I'm acknowledging that I'm doing more than just the killing part.
Sure.
That it's a package deal. It's the kill. So a lot of times I use kill and harvest in the same sentence. I killed and harvested a blacktail, or I killed and harvested an elk this year, because I want to connect those dots between the killing but then the taking of the animal home and all of that.
Totally.
And from an outside looking in, when you just use the word kill, you leave out the most critical part. That's what that person who's disconnected sees. And to your point, hunting TV has been an embarrassment to hunting forever. Sure. Most of it. And when you're showing that to your own audience, to your own echo chamber,
it's cool. Sure.
Like, no, like, fine.
Nobody else is looking in.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And it used to be, we did that and we got away with it for years. And I think we really were preaching to the choir. And the only guys that watched hunting shows were ones who paid for it on cable TV and then watched it. Right?
Exactly.
So we weren't exposed to the wide world. But now with social media, with YouTube, with your Instagrams and your Facebooks and all of what that entails, you can't just show your footage now to your echo chamber.
No.
It's visible by everyone.
The world's changed, yeah.
And in that regard, I feel like now we have to start behaving differently.
We do.
We have a bit of we have to acknowledge the fact that people are looking behind our closed doors every day. Like, we live in glass houses now. That means that we have to provide more context to whenever we share a photo or an activity or a kill. It should be done with some context around it that sort of helps the person who doesn't relate to us understand. And hunters rebel against that. We hate that. We hate the idea of having to like explain ourselves in any way.
Yeah.
And I just look at it as a chance to inspire or share my way of life with someone else in a way that they can grasp it and maybe appreciate it, rather than in a way that alienates them and makes them now actively, emotionally fight against it.
Well, we could send them on two trajectories on what we're doing, right? I mean, we could either scare them off by having the deer in the back of the truck with beer cans in there, and, and keep, sticking with what these negative connotations they have about us, rightfully so. Or we could put them on the path and some of that is our vernacular, right? Some of that is the words we're using and how we're using it and how we're showing it. And I get it. There's more responsibility now than there ever has been.
But I've kind of come, I just finished this bear hunt that we were talking about. And people ask me, how much blowback did you get from the bear hunt? How many people said something negative, and how many anti-bear hunters did you get attacked by? And it was like, I think there was, there's like 25, 30,000 views on the videos. I think I had 2 comments that were negative, and I've had like 700 positive. I think maybe the algorithms on YouTube are a little better about showing just our content to the right people. There's no doubt that that's happening. That way, these companies like Facebook, Instagram,
doesn't go right to PETA.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they don't know it's there.
Yeah,
because their algorithms are better than ever. But I also think that the world has actually changed for the better in terms of their view of bear hunting. It's shifting. When I first did my first bear hunt, man, it was like brutal, and people just assumed you never eat it. Now people are coming to know how good it is and how many black bear are available, that there needs to be management done, that it's a great food source, and the whole package, because you got people like Ranella doing show after show after show on bear hunting and consuming bear meat.
Yep.
And you got other guys on other channels and other platforms doing the same thing. Randy Newberg and you've got Traeger grills, like smoking a bear ham and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden you got Joe Rogan going out and getting bear meat and eating it. And that, every time that happens, it educates the public.
Yes.
And so I think that in a lot of ways, I was pulling back on some of the trophy shots kind of stuff I would share. Or let's say I filmed a hunt and I was like, hell yeah, I smoked him. Did you see that?
Yeah. And you're like,
right? And that's real emotion. That was honest.
Yeah.
And there are other times where I hit it and I'm just in shock, and I stand there and I'm actually a little bit remorseful. Not remorseful, but just I realize I've taken a life, and it's like a deep moment. Like, I've been after that same buck for 2 years now, and it's just like there's
the amount of work.
There's an amount of loss, but also excitement. I feel real reverence at that moment.
Yeah.
I've experienced both.
Yeah.
Within weeks of each other.
Exactly.
I still love the animal, but that emotion I would try to, in the past, like curb or hide, or because from the outside looking in, it's misunderstood. I don't feel compelled to do that anymore. I think in some ways because the public seems to be understanding it more.
Yeah. No.
More tolerant. Like 3-4 years ago, it was like, there's a lot of anti-hunting stuff I went through. now I just don't experience it hardly ever. And
it's got to be education. I mean, think about that's what they were seeing, even like 5 years ago. Mainly what they were seeing is, the network shows dumping their stuff on YouTube and that type of thing. And so they're seeing these things. They're seeing these guys, pumping their fists in the air. And we get that side of it. We get the emotional side of it. But, now that this is on YouTube, anybody can search it. It just pops up randomly on your thing and you're in the in-between. We're never going to change with people that are just completely on the opposite side, of the spectrum. Right. The P2P, like this. What are you going to do? That's just what that is. But, the people down the middle of the road that we kind of want them to understand. And I think the education is getting out there. And I think it's exactly part of that is showing what we're doing with this, that we don't just, show the skulls up on the walls and that type of thing. And that's something I try to implement. I was going through a little bit of a time where I was trying to do Sundays. Like that's when the whole family gets together. We sit down, we eat, and it's always wild game. Trying to show the preparation, my wife preparing it because God knows I can't do that. So she's like making the meal, like showing like the finished plate and then showing the animal that came from.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of a cool way of doing it and showing like the whole process. Cause there are people like family that, will look at my Instagram or Facebook or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And even then, and there's even like, some old people, you got like high school friends for whatever random reason you have that on your Facebook and they'll kind of hit you up like, I can't believe you shot a cougar. And you're like, yeah, but here's this, being eaten. They're like, oh, you eat the thing? And I'm like, well, yeah, we're not going to just shoot it. But I think that's normal. I'm like, well, why would I shoot it if I'm not going to?
Right. That's why I say the context, because the bear the bear videos, we ate the bear in the field and we showed cooking it over fire. We showed it like deep fried in its own bear fat. And that part of it, I feel like, meat eaters hit home runs with that because people see the kill and the harvest and then the consumption. And those things together are powerful into human DNA.
Sure.
And so I feel like putting that all together is powerful. And that's where that education takes place. Hunting TV didn't show that. It showed, well, I got to thank all these sponsors, in my blank suit and this noise blocker and the ozone, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I couldn't have got this, 12 pointer without blah, blah, blah. And look at the size of him. He's Boone and Crockett. And it's all about trophy size and this lack of linking. And I think it's a lot of hunters just took for granted. We all just kind of know you're going to eat it. It's obvious.
Right. Exactly.
But the public doesn't. So giving them that visual and that, I think it's absolutely adding that context whenever you share something. And the last podcast I did was canning bear meat. And we took those bears, we canned them, and I have had no less than 20 people contact me, friends of mine and stuff that are like, I gotta try it.
Yeah.
And so I've been shipping all my jars of bear meat.
Never tried it. That's kind of crazy.
Around the country.
Yeah.
So that they can taste it for themselves and go, oh my gosh, and everyone that's eaten it is like, I gotta go bear hunting.
Yeah.
I have to, this is so good.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of the best game meats out there. And people it's a lost art on how to eat it. And people get freaked out because of trichinosis and all these things. And, but you got people learning now how to make sausage, how to make jerkies, how to smoke a ham. And the revival of cooking game meat has come back in full force and it's in vogue and people love it.
Absolutely.
So I think the field is changing. So I can show more trophy shots. I think I can be more, and have been more, vocal on like the actual emotion, the hooting and the hollering. And it's not, people realize it's not a sign of disrespect.
No. And I think, social media, just internet, social media itself, it's changed everything. And thank God as hunters, we're evolving with it. And we're realizing this stuff, that we're realizing that these shows can't be what it is anymore, that we have to give more context to what we're doing. Mm-hmm. It's cool to see. I'm happy it's going that direction. I'm sure you're happy. I'm sure most people are as well. But it's a fine line. This is all new to all of us. And now we're way more in the public eye than we've ever been. So we got to kind of act accordingly.
Well, what other articles have you written that have had similar like response?
I kind of write is, I don't know, it's a little bit different. Like I don't just kind of, here's the story. I went out and shot a deer, yay, and then thank my sponsors, which I have
this and do that.
Yeah. So it's just more the
concepts, ideas.
Yeah, some of it's like the craziness that happens in the backcountry. Like I solo hunt a ton. Really thoroughly enjoy it, especially when I go down to Arizona. Like that is my time of year. I get out in the desert. I don't want to talk to anybody. Yeah.
It's so underrated.
I'm not going to say Arizona, so I'm saying New Mexico, Montana. Let's go to, anywhere but Colorado, everywhere else besides Arizona and Colorado. Let's talk about those. It doesn't matter. So I knew I shouldn't have brought up Arizona. But yes, it is awesome down there. But it's just that fact of like, there's something so desolate about the desert, right? Like if you're by yourself, you're not talking to anybody. It's kind of the soul searching time for me. So I go in there and I write. I mean, I feel like I'm almost tripping my rear end off out there because I'm not talking to anybody. I'll text a wife, just say, I'm alive still, that type of thing. Through InReach or whatever I need, or a sat phone, something of the sorts. But aside from that, it's just me out there. And, and that's what a lot of my writing's about is just the crazy thoughts that go through my head, things you start doing when you're alone, with the world so saturated with communication and everybody's talking and you're constantly on your phone, and it drives me nuts that I'm constantly on my phone, but I'm always needing that stimulus of something's going on. My brain needs a fire 24/7. Now you go out there and you try to shut that thing down. Good Lord Almighty. That thing gets crazy on you, so now everything switches and you're out there and all you hear is the wind of the desert and you're staring through your binocs and you're a spotter and you're looking for animals and you have nothing to do besides think.
And it seems like time just stops.
So a day's forever.
And it's wonderful.
There's nothing to do.
One of the reasons I like to hunt is because it's when I was in Cancun, for example, I was still thinking about emails. I was still thinking about this or that or the video production or because what we're doing doesn't take all my focus to achieve it.
Right.
But when you're hunting and you're after that giant coos deer in the desert, you're so locked on that moment that it allows you to forget everything but live in the moment.
Oh, sure.
And it's one of the only things, hunting is that one thing for me that allows me to live in this moment, not what I need to get done, what hasn't been done, what goals I have down the road. It's like I'm in the moment. And I feel like the human being is quite adapted to that and needs that. Yet in the modern world, we rarely get it.
It's all been impossible.
We're rarely locked into the moment. But when you're belly crawling for 6 hours to get in position and you're sitting there and you're peeking over the rock, now you're waiting for the deer to stand up. You didn't think about anything but that activity in that moment.
Yeah.
You're not distracted. You can't be. And to do that day after day after day, there's a type of where you unplug in a way that it's hard to do without that intense moment. Now, I interviewed Shane Mahoney and he was talking about how hunting is probably the oldest and best try at life. That like the thing that human beings have, that's why we are where we are today, because we hunted and we've won. And we're here because we're excellent hunters, because we've evolved to be excellent hunters. All of our ingenuity and stuff it stemmed from trying to get food, trying to survive out with the elements, out with the animals. And because of that, when we're stalking an animal, our DNA is firing off. Like everything that we're meant to do and been born to do and built to do is being engaged. Our nose, our eyes, our ears, our senses are on full alert. And there's something about that activity that just we need. Human beings need. And think about how many people never feel that.
Yeah.
He's like, why do sports get so much attention? A guy can throw a football.
Yeah.
Because sports are like they're like a sidestep of what the most advanced hunter could do.
Yeah.
A football, a quarterback, it's like a guy throwing a spear.
Sure. Throwing a rock at an animal. Sure.
Throwing a rock at an animal.
Yeah.
That and war, like fighting another human as an opponent or let's say a large predator.
Sure. No.
And so I feel like, there's something about this activity that allows you to unplug It's incredible.
It is wild, and I think that is part of the thing with, it also backfires on you too at times where you have too much time out there. And that's the beauty of it as well, is you have that animal, but there's midday. Okay, so you're waiting it out and you have nothing to do for 6 hours. That animal bedded down, you're waiting for thermals, whatever you're doing, and you're sitting around. And it's a great time to kind of sit back and you analyze your life, without outside input, without something interrupting you, nothing. It's just you out there in the whistling wind, and you have nothing but just besides your own thoughts, and you'd be amazed where they can end up going sometimes. So,
what's the name of one of your favorite articles?
Dude, I honestly, people come back to me and be like, oh, I like this. I'm like, oh, geez, I wrote that. I never go back and reread. So I don't know. That's why even when you were saying, I'm like, what was the name of that article? I don't know. I think one of my favorite ones to write was that, we were killers. And a lot of the ones, there's some old ones when I just started bow hunting, writing about that stuff. And it was so much more emotional back then because maybe there was the first couple times I killed an animal. And it was just kind of the thought process of going through and actually seeing that animal die. And it was really cool, that feeling. I think there was one that was called Couch Fire, and that had more to do with a college buddy who came out and hunted with me. And we may or may not have lit a couch, started a dumpster fire back in college. And it was based off of that, because that was the first time I saw him since, college. When we went hunting. And it was the first time I shot an elk with my bow. And that was, 7-8 years back, something like that. But that was a fun one because that was it was wild to see that arrow go. Like everything, like out of any hunt I ever did, it was so slow motion. Like I could see that bull looking at me, and I could see he knew I was there. And it was this weird feeling like I'll get blasted for it, but whatever. Like it was a feeling of this connection, like where this thing knew I was going to kill it. Like if for some reason in my head, I'm sure it didn't, but in my head, that's what I thought. And it just saw me and it just stood there and it just waited for it. And, you release the arrow and you just saw that thing go in and you see it puncture the skin and go through. And then this thing just kind of walk off, just like, he was dead before the arrow left type of feeling. And then it laid on the ground and then you just go up and you're like, this is something serious, like that you're doing here. This is real business you're in. So that was a cool one to write. Like that one gave me the chills when I was writing it. So if I ever get that, that's a huge one for me. When you get the chills when you're writing. I don't know. So that was one of them.
I want to get into what you've been up to lately.
Sure.
So, I've got this Sage and Breaker shirt on here.
Shameless plug
and
fire away.
But seriously, what is this new company that you've launched, and how long has it been?
Late 2014 is when I started this, and I started this on the side. So to give you a little context, a little background on it, I was a motion designer in my previous life. So that entailed a ton of time in had my own business for a little while, a couple employees. We were doing a lot of work for, what did we do? We did like NFL, NBA. We did some stuff for the Colorado Rockies, mainly sports stuff, sports packages, motion graphics, video editing, did some documentary stuff, like long form editing as well. So did that for like ages and ages. And then started getting into ad agencies, and it was just chewing at my life. Like I was making pixels. Like one of the biggest clients, I remember this, what really made me rethink my life was I was working on like this Pepsi campaign. It was for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, okay, this is going to last like, I don't know, maybe a month or something. And just pixels I'm making. And then it's going to go away. And what I'm doing is essentially selling kids diabetes. Like I felt horrible about what I'm doing here. So,
right.
And there was no purpose to it. I mean, I liked what I did, and it was cool to make, pretty art and that type of thing out of it. But I was just kind of losing my soul. So I started this up as a side business, and it was firearm cleaning products. I kind of saw that there was a need in the market for it. There was only, a couple competitors out there, and I'm a huge upland guy as well. So I got it's named after my bird dog, Sage and Breaker. And I grew up with my father. That's really what we did. Grew up back east, so there wasn't as much. I mean, there was whitetail, that type of thing, but it was a lot of upland.
Yeah, you can hear it in your accent.
Really? Still here? Jeez, I thought Colorado wringed it out of me, but no, I can't get rid of it. It's something about it. And I've been in Colorado since 2002. I just cannot ditch this accent, especially when I get mad or I start talking fast, and then it comes out. But no, I started this, like, there was something about, like, when I grew up, like, the gun came out of the, came out of the safe. It came out clean and went back in clean. That was just the mentality. Every single time you shot that shotgun, that rifle, whatever it was, BB gun, you cleaned it. That's just how my father brought us up. And so that was just always the mentality. And there was something about this legacy that was left with a firearm. I could get a new bow every year. I had no attachment to that bow. You know what I mean? It's just something, but firearms. I had my grandfather's firearms. I had on my father's deathbed, he gave us, like, me and my brother both, like this shotgun that's still with me. And it means a ton to me. And that's what I grouse hunt with. That's what I hunt everything with. Like, these are legacies that, got passed down to me. It's going to get passed down to my kids. And I wanted to make something like through Sage and Breaker that was the same thing. And I'm like, with the cleaning that A, was going to preserve these legacies, and B, that was something like we made this gun mat here, and like, some other things that's going to get handed down as well. I wanted to have like this timeless thing that kind of went with your firearms that was going to not just get ditched in the garbage after, a couple months, after a couple of uses. So we threw price to the wind and said, to hell with it. We're going to just make the best of the best out there. And if people like it, cool. If not, then whatever. Then I move on. People liked it, so and it started to take off, and we've been building ever since. And I've been doing it full time. I think a little over 3 years now.
This is pretty sweet.
Yeah, this one's beat up. This is my own personal one. I brought out on this road trip. But here, we'll undo it. So it's like wax canvas, the same type of thing. You'll see like a Filson jacket, wool, leather. We just switched over to the new ones. We're going to like a Crazy Horse leather, which is even like this finer grain. It's super sweet. So it's got all the pouches in it. You got your product. You got your, artboard cleaning kits, which are totally different than the other stuff out there. It's got, a full brush, so you can detach that, wash the buffing rope separate. You're getting like the best of both worlds with a rod and brush system.
Yep.
Whereas the other ones, they just had the bristles kind of coming through. Mm-hmm. You can take that full thing, pull that through a couple times, attach the buffing rope, pull the whole thing through, wash this separately.
I saw you running it through your Kimber.
Yeah.
Or a Kimber.
Yep.
I have the same. Is it a 10 mil?
No, it's a 45.
Okay.
Yep.
I've
10 mil's a new one, man. Everybody loves those 10 mils.
That's what I've got.
Dude, it's a great gun. It's a great caliber.
So yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So it's just like, we got CLP, which we work with some phenomenal guys that were actually on the Pennzoil race team. So these guys make some sick stuff, and we got together with a couple of their chemists, came up with a great thing. I mean, it does everything. It cleans it, lubricates it, protects it, the full deal. So all you need is this. You don't need like the separate oils and the solvents and all that. And the big thing, it's bio-based, so it's not hazardous. It's not going to get those fumes in and mess you up. So that was a big thing for us too. And then we have, like real nice swabs, that type of thing. And then,
This looks like something that came out of like a 1950s, like Field and Stream magazine.
It totally is, man. That was the idea behind it. It's just having like this the wax canvas feel to it. I mean, everybody's like, oh, it's the hipster brand because we have an ampersand in our logo. You're like, boom, automatically you're a hipster.
Right.
I get it.
It's cool though. This is gonna last a long time.
Damn well better.
Dude.
And so this is a little bit different. What we did was a lot of guys using stainless throughout the whole thing, but the problem is that's a higher Rockwell rating than a lot of the metals on your guns. You could end up scratching it. So we use brass for the tips, but then the strength of the stainless for the handles. We switch it up.
Nice.
A little bit.
Dude, it seems like you could do a lot. You could pick your teeth with this.
Totally,
you could
we don't have it, with the kids.
No,
you
can clean skulls
with it.
Like it's
totally universal. Do as you will.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, so that was just kind of the whole thought process behind it. I don't know. I just wanted to make something as timeless as the firearms I owned, and something you'd be able to hand down. And I don't know. And then plus I get to work in the industry I love.
Oh yeah.
That was everything too. It's just like, I thought when everybody used to say like, oh, find something you love to do and you never work a day in your life, and I'd like, yeah, whatever. Just so cheesy. Then all of a sudden you start doing it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's for real. I love talking to my customers. I love, we take care of, I take all the calls myself between me and my wife. I don't know. I just like dealing with my customers, and I don't know. It's cool. It's a great industry to be in.
I have been, doing more rifle hunting the last few years.
I've noticed,
than I've done in years previous. But it's just so fun.
It's cool.
Rifle hunting has I still crave the challenge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in rifle hunting, I feel like, I watched Meat Eater for years. And Ranella, he rifle hunts 90% of the time. I watched Solo Hunter, Remy and Tim both rifle hunting. And I heard Ranella on a show once talk about how it's tough to film a bow hunt.
Yeah.
And they've got to produce a certain amount of shows.
Kill with a bow hunt, yeah.
Right. And it's one thing for one dude to sneak up on a deer. It's another for three or two, a cameraman over your shoulder.
Yeah.
I think it's easier to film a whitetail hunt from a tree stand with multiple people.
Yep.
But on the ground, spot and stock, it's just that many more. Your odds of getting in bow range and getting that shot just get smaller and smaller. That's why, it's nice when you're in open country because your camera dude, like on South Cox, he can sit back 200 yards,
Yeah.
300 yards,
Well,
and
he
film
sneaks
the sneak in
Yep.
the stock. It's not over the shoulder, but it's still, you're still in the hunt. You still
Sure.
feel it, you know. And I've realized, you know, after doing it's so much easier to film a rifle hunt.
Oh, I can believe it.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
But I still want that adventure. And it's interesting because when we were tar hunting, we landed in that spot that was a tough bow hunt.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yep.
There was no lack of adventure bringing out the rifle.
Oh, no.
None.
Uh-uh.
But then we went to the other area and we brought out the rifles because we only had a day and a half. But we were within 40 yards of tar, hands and knees, you know, big bulls. If we had bows, it would have been a heyday.
Yeah.
Almost to the point, pretty much to the point where it was still fun to rifle hunt, but it lost a lot of its allure. Like, because you could tag out in an hour or two.
Sure. And you were always thinking in the back of your head, I could do this with my bow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is a tough one.
And the other one, it took us 5 days to find a tar to kill. You know, so that hunt, you know, you bring out the rifle and you just felt like you earned it.
Sure.
And then you had to recover it from these mountains that were just
Yep.
spooky. The other area was like literally, you could shoot 5-10 bulls in one afternoon. And so it was like, you almost need to bring out the bow in order to experience the challenge you want.
Exactly.
And I've realized over the years, it's not about the weapon for me. It's really about the challenge, you know? And that's really one of the reasons why I changed from gritty Bowman to gritty, because I just love hunting.
Sure.
And whether it's bird, upland, or even, you know, duck hunting.
Yeah.
But I love all of that stuff. Big game is still like my addiction.
Yeah.
And bow hunting is still chief among the hunts that I really love. And the most probably the most accomplished I feel when I succeed with a bow. But there's so much enjoyment that's been coming from the rifle hunts. I'm having so much fun with that.
It's what you want out of it, right? I do a hunt every year with my buddies, and it's a rifle hunt. It's just cow elk hunt. You know, the season's almost done. It's late in November. Mm-hmm. And it's just, there's so much more camaraderie. It's, you know, we've all hopefully got an animal by that point. So you're not like, we could use the meat. Yeah. You could always use the meat, especially with a growing family. Yeah. You could use the meat. But, you know, with a rifle, there's a little bit more distance. You get a little bit more chatty out there. You know, it's more about the campfire at night. You know, so there's certain things
like third season Colorado, I was hunting elk last year. Shot a nice bull. But it's cold. It's a totally different challenge. Yeah. Like, it's still tough, but in a different way.
Yep. And,
really it's in many ways with a rifle, it's not, I don't feel like it's whether I tag out or not. Like I feel that way with a bow. Like I might tag out, I might not.
Yeah.
With a rifle, it's just, what am I going to shoot?
Right.
And I think part of that though is because of my experience bow hunting.
Sure.
Getting to 100 yards is a luxury.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard not to come home with something every time I bring out a rifle. You know, Fred Bear has that quote. It's more fun to hunt with the uncertainty of a bow than the sureness of a rifle.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Makes sense.
And I totally understand where he's coming from. I don't think fun. I think he says rewarding, maybe. Mm-hmm. But fun-wise, it's tough.
Sometimes fun's just killing that
on a rifle.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's this whole package deal of bringing it home and eating it.
Sure.
That comes from, you know, that experience, whether it's no matter the weapon. So it's been fun for me. I'm kind of learning more and more about rifles, getting better and better at them all the time. You know, I still keep my shots pretty short range compared to today's day.
Yeah.
But I enjoy getting that close.
Yeah.
You know, I like that challenge. And I found like it's pretty easy to get to under 200 yards.
Yeah.
If you just, it's funny. The only thing we struggled with in Colorado was guys shooting 1,200 yards.
Yeah.
So while we're trying to get to 2,
yeah, they're shooting over your shoulder.
They shot over us and killed.
You had that happen?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Shot a big buck. And it's like, well, we could have shot him at 400 or 500,
right?
But we wanted to be close.
And they didn't see you stalking in.
The deer?
No, you guys stalking in the other hunters.
Oh, probably. They don't care.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's they got there first. It's public land.
Sure.
The elk we were after, we spotted 2 bulls, and they came down this ridge, 2 6x6, small, younger bulls. And we're moving in on them, and we're hustling, right? We were on this open knob glassing for 2 days, and then we see these elk, and we just pack up our bags, and we're just running down this ridge and trying to run up the canyon to get to shooting range as quickly as possible. We have a youth and me, and we're moving into position, and this guy up on the mountain had seen us pack up and hustle. So he knew we were we must have seen something. Mm-hmm. Now he can't see it from his position because he's way up on the mountain. So he just shadows us.
He's using you as an indicator of where.
And he just follows us and runs and runs and runs. And he's 300 yards from the elk when we get to 300 yards on the elk. And he's just frantically trying to see where the elk are. He's racing us to the elk.
That he doesn't even know that's there.
He doesn't
just
even
knows
see
you
it.
know
he just
it's
knows
there.
We know it's there.
Geez.
And then he gets cliffed out and can't go any further, which was, we didn't know if he would be or not.
Yeah.
And he has to sit there and wait. And then, we shot these 2 bulls, and then he walked off, but it was kind of,
it's an odd thing.
It's kind of irritating,
Yeah.
and that's your public land scenario often, especially I've noticed that in rifle hunting a little more than bow.
Yeah.
Seems like it's a dog eat dog world.
Yeah, and if I see other guys out there with a bow, it's usually always a discussion, right? You're like, I saw something, I'm going to go in on it. Or the other guy's like, I've been sitting on this, and it's always kind of chill because I think it's a close quarters type of thing.
Yep.
But when you got guys that can shoot 1,200 yards and they're like, nah, I'm just going to lob this over these guys and, smack the bull. I mean, it's legal, but is it cool? That's a different story.
And they're good shots. I mean,
sure.
These guys are smashing them at that range.
I couldn't fathom that.
But there's, I think you do lose the intimacy.
Yes.
I'm not bagging on long range. It's
no,
just
whatever.
not.
Each his own.
Yeah. So Sage and Breaker.
Yeah.
So how much does one of these little jobbies cost?
Just for the mat itself, I had $205.
Okay.
So yeah, it's all, it's the good stuff.
And so they can follow you on Instagram.
Yeah,
Check
so
it out.
Instagram, that's Sage and Breaker for the company. It's BRAKER. And then for me, it's just Fred Bohm.
And is spelled out A-N-D.
Yeah,
Breaker
not
is
ampersand.
B-R-A-K-E-R.
Yeah, we couldn't go that hipster on that. We would have gotten murdered. Gotta be careful out there.
Well, as it is, you have a lot of like cool hipster type photos on there.
That's my style.
That's your style.
Obviously, I'm a hipster. East Coast jerseys are known for hipsters. I did live in Williamsburg for a little bit, so that'll do it. It's contagious over there.
I grew up in Portland.
Oh, jeez.
Just south of Portland. So
oh, man.
I got it down.
We're going to go up there on this trip, so it's going to be brutal.
It has such a upland feel too.
It does. And that's really who we cater to. I mean, anybody can buy. We get a ton of guys, for ARs and military and that type of thing, but that's what I do. So, and I do all the marketing for, I'm the photographer behind it. So I'm going to go shoot what I'm doing, right? So that worked out. That's pretty much what you're going to see on there is upland, but obviously this stuff works for anything.
Yeah. No, I'm stoked to use it. So people can check it out at Sage and Breaker on Instagram. You have a website?
SageandBreaker.com. Same thing. And then
spelled out A-N-D?
Yep, A-N-D, then BRAKER, and then personal blogs is FredBohm.com too.
Okay.
Simple.
We'll put some links in the YouTube video on this
I keep it simple.
On this episode. I really encourage people to go check out the blog too.
Thank you.
And soak up some Fred Bohm,
my nonsense that I spew out of my mouth and put onto a keyboard.
Yeah, check out We Are Killers.
Dude, it's all nonsense, so don't take any of it seriously. It's just for fun.
But your Instagram page is awesome too.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I love photography, and I love,
There's always some good writing on there too. So
more just being a wise ass on there. So.
Yeah, you are.
I kind of am.
Yeah.
I like it. That's part of the East Coast. I can't get rid of it again. Along with the accent. That is stuck with me to the deathbed. So sorry, guys. I don't know what to say, but you're going to get a little mouthy on there. So.
Well, thanks for coming on the podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome, dude. I appreciate you having me.
Good luck this season.
No.
I'll be following. I'll be watching. And let's get an update, when the season winds down. Let's talk some coos deer and some tar. I want to talk New Zealand. Like we were on a hike this morning,
nonstop, just rattling our mouths about it. So,
and you have your experience. I have mine. The hut systems,
sick.
The cabins, the
best of the
backcountry, the mountains.
Yep.
I mean, and you hit the West Coast some.
A little bit. We kind of got stormed out. We were going to go. We had two. Luckily, the people that I went with, they're Kiwis, and they had a contingency plan, and that was more east. Stormed out. They wouldn't take the helicopters into West Coast, so we went in. It was still pretty brutal. Like, it was still rocky, but from talking to those guys, are like, West Coast is even crazier. Yeah. But then also hunted the North Island as well. So got kind of got around.
Been there.
It's pretty different, totally different. It's not the mountainous craziness, but like more rolling hills. Yeah. But that's where like I saw a lot of red stag, fallow, that type.
We need to compare notes. Talk about. Totally, I mean, it's an epic adventure. And I think one of the reasons I did it with Ryan was I just really wanted people to understand how this is do-it-yourself.
So
it's
accessible.
Public land, so doable, and you can't experience anything like it in the United States for the price.
Yeah. No, you get that plane ticket. Like the rest of it, I mean, there's no tags. You got to go online, right, and then check off a couple boxes. Yeah. It's super simple.
I flew my trophies home on a Yeti Panga on the airplane.
Exactly.
For $200.
Dude, there you go.
Ride, school, meet, all of it.
Plane ticket, rent a car, split that with some buddies if they're going with too, and that you could probably even get away with. And I mean, I'll tell the tip. The way that it worked out so well with me, just be cool. Trade hunts with somebody else. I got on a forum and I'm say, hey, listen, I'm not, as soon as you hear somebody, I don't want your honey hole, but, can you point me in the right direction? Yeah. What they're looking for is your honey hole, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's exactly what they're asking you. So this is, I don't know, I just got
Take me honey, I'll take you honey.
Exactly. I'm going to exchange it. And sure enough, met a couple great guys over there and they came over and hunt over here with me and I showed them some of my great spots and, just be cool, reciprocate.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes.
Bold.
Man.
Yeah, I like it.
Get after it.
We did it a couple ways. We did just a rental car, which was cheap.
Dude, that's not bad, right?
And then we drove into a spot and walked in and killed.
Exactly.
And then we did a helicopter drop camp in some remote area.
And even that's reasonable. The helicopters, you'd think it would be so much more expensive.
So cheap. Yeah. It was cheaper than a horse drop camp here stateside.
Oh, yeah.
It was cheaper than that.
And know when you're going over there, a lot of people kind of like poo-poo, like, oh, you need a helicopter. It's different. The infrastructure is different over there, so they don't have the roads like we do going into the backcountry. No. You could get to the furthest point, going west in the South Island, and then to hike over to like the deep, you could be weeks. I mean, weeks and weeks to get into the
There is no road system, and then there's often, or not always, but there's a lot of areas with no road system, and then there's no landing strips.
No.
Like here we have airplanes that drop us everywhere. Drop camps all over. You can just charter a plane. They land on an airstrip somewhere and you get out. There, it's all helicopter driven. The whole country.
It's essentially their ATVs.
That's how they get places.
Yeah.
And I think the scarcity of helicopters here for that. First of all, I think the distances are far greater often that an airplane is flying.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we have so much.
You start talking Alaska, Northwest, territories. That's totally different.
But I'm not sure what it is, but I think the terrain is not that conducive to like a plane.
No, not at all. They're dropping you off in these little pads, and believe me, you're still going to earn your hunt. There's no doubt. They're dropping you in the valley.
No different than a horse drop.
Exactly. Yep, you're still working.
We got dropped for like 9 days, and once you're dropped, you're dropped.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean,
if the animals aren't there, you're moving. You're finding them.
We hiked. We climbed mountains, dude.
Oh, I know.
And so, to me, I just watched Remy Warren do that fallow tar hunt where they did a helicopter drop.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to do it too. But the walk-in place, strictly, I mean, it was the cost of a rental car, and that was it.
And there's a lot of targets out there.
We saw more there actually than we did with the helicopter drop.
Did you? And I think it was what we were talking about earlier. Is like these animals do know what a helicopter is.
Oh yeah.
They hunker down in a hurry when they hear that thing. Sometimes it'll take a day, for them to clear out.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Like they'll come back in and like, okay, coast is clear type of mentality. But you're busting your butt for them.
That's a hunt that we need to talk about. So
yeah.
Anyway, Fred, thank you. Appreciate it, man.
All right, brother.
All right.
Great to be on.
Stay gritty.
All right, man.